A winter storm. Skylar expecting more snow throughout the evening and into tomorrow. So thank you again to them for Skyping in. I'd like to welcome on my usual Tuesday guest giving us inside the Beltway politics from a remote location today, Jennifer Lawless. Thank you for Skyping in.
My pleasure.
As we said, we usually tend to get big news after the Tuesday show, but we got some big news today, maybe not unexpected. The departure of Rex Tillerson. How has the reaction been to this?
Well, I don't think that the departure itself was unexpected, but the manner in which news was delivered, not only to the American public, but also to Rex Tillerson, was somewhat unexpected. So apparently, John Kelly notified him last night that he was going to be replaced, although Tillerson did not think that it was going to be this morning. And he apparently found out via Donald Trump's tweet this morning that he was out. And so the interesting thing about this, and I think what a lot of people in DC are talking about right now, is for somebody who really loves firing people, this is yet one more example of Donald Trump not being willing to do the firing himself, face to face, in person. And so that's sort of counter to the way that he handled his reality TV show. The way he's handling his reality TV administration is a little bit more passive aggressive.
That is a study in psychology for sure. You know, what had we seen for strife between Tillerson and Trump?
Well, we knew all along that Tillerson was probably a little bit more of an establishment Republican when it came to foreign policy. They differed regarding the Iran deal, but on top of that, yesterday, Tillerson came out and basically agreed with Theresa May about the fact that the Russians had something to do with poisoning the British spies, right? And so he made a negative statement regarding Russia, which Donald Trump does not seem to like. And so I think the timing of it was probably precipitated in part by that. Now, under ordinary circumstances, we might think that this isn't the worst thing in the world because Tillerson was unequivocally unqualified to be Secretary of State. But it turned out that he actually did seem to occupy one of the adult seats at the table. And being replaced with Pompeo is basically replacing somebody that countered Trump in a lot of ways with somebody who's a very fierce advocate of the president.
Do we think that the comments made were the sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, that perhaps the president had in his back of his mind that he had some hesitations and this is just what pushed him over the edge within the course of one day?
I think that's probably the case. From what I understand, nobody expected Donald Trump to tweet this information this morning. And so it may have been that he was just sitting on it and he couldn't stand it anymore. And the fact that Tillerson had the audacity to say something that wasn't completely consistent with Trump's views was just a little too much. Now, the White House is backing off of this. They're trying to argue that Tillerson himself resigned, that this was, sort of a very amicable departure. And they're citing the fact that Tillerson has said that he's going to help enable the transition. That doesn't mean that it's an amicable departure. That just means that he doesn't want to completely compromise the security of the United States.
Let's talk about security. I was going to go to domestic politics, but I do want to kind of straddle the line here. Let's talk about the House Intelligence Committee talking about it's wrapping up its Russia investigation.
Yeah, this was another one where the Republicans decided that they found no collusion and they're wrapping up the Russia investigation. And Adam Schiff and the Democrats on the committee found out about this by reading about it in the newspaper. So a committee that was obviously pretty partisan and divided to begin with, there were no illusions of bipartisanship or working together, ended pretty much as dysfunctionally as it had operated. Now, Schiff, the ranking member, and the Democrats have said that they hope to continue the investigation. But obviously, when the Republican Party is in control, they're very limited, not only in their ability to call witnesses and to gather evidence, but to be able to put any pressure on people to comply with their requests. So for all intents and purposes, it's over on the House side.
Did we have a sense of timing? Were there sort of thoughts that maybe this could happen, or was this out of left field as well?
This seemed pretty much out of left field, although the Republicans had been suggesting for a couple of weeks now that Adam Schiff was taking his case to the American public by going on CNN almost every night. And so they were suggesting that he was colluding with the mainstream media. And as a result, the investigation couldn't carry on the way that it needed to carry on. But I mean, from the day after Devin Nunes went to the White House and basically reported everything that they had found, we knew that this was not going to be the committee that would ultimately be able to launch a legitimate investigation into the president.
So along the lines of Tillerson's remarks to Theresa May, do we think that Schiff's sort of activist role perhaps pushed the Republicans over the edge?
It may have. I mean, I do think that what the House Republicans don't seem to realize is that the Senate's behaving a little bit more responsibly. And at the end of the day, it's ultimately going to be one committee plus the Mueller investigation that is likely to, if not take down the president, then certainly call into question the manner in which Russia interfered and what he knew about it. And so those committee, on the Senate side, we're seeing real deals being brokered and Democrats and Republicans behaving as co-partisans. And so I think there is where we would expect the real progress to be made.
Okay, let's go back over to the House side. Pennsylvania, 18th Congressional District.
Yeah, so this is a special election. The Democrats are well situated to pick up a seat, right? This is a Republican district. They have a Democratic candidate who, under ordinary circumstances, we might not really consider a Democratic candidate in Connor Lamb. If the Democrats win this seat, I think it will send shockwaves through the system because it means that there are solidly red rural areas where, with the right candidate, Republicans can be knocked off. If the Republicans hold the seat, I don't really think there's much news, except that, millions and millions of dollars were spent. But this is a situation where the Republicans really should be able to hold this seat.
And so what else are we keeping an eye on down in D.C. moving forward? What are we going to be talking about this time next Tuesday? And as we know, we often don't know.
Well, I think the Russia investigation and Paul Manafort in particular, a federal judge said today that Paul Manafort could very well spend the rest of his life in prison. If that's what a term looks like, then that also changes the calculus in terms of what Paul Manafort might be willing to tell people. Another piece of news that broke late today, where I think we'll see ripple effects, has to do with George Papadopoulos. In a new book, a new book suggests that he was very, very involved in trying to set up a meeting with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in particular, the two of them. And so my bet is that we'll start hearing a little bit more from Mueller. The last week or so, we haven't heard that much from that side.
And the Papadopoulos book, did we know of this piece of information, or did we know this book was coming?
I didn't know the book was coming. I don't know what we knew. I didn't know the book was coming. I think all of these pieces of information are not necessarily new to the Mueller team or to other key investigators. But I do think that as a result of these little snippets being leaked out, more and more about the Mueller investigation is brought to the fore as well. And so assuming that Mueller knew about this, that's yet one more reason that Papadopoulos might have agreed to cooperate with the investigators early on.
Well, appreciate being able to catch you with the news cycle instead of waiting for the next weeks to get it. Again, Tillerson and everything that's taking place inside the Beltway. Jennifer Lawless, we appreciate your taking the time to Skype in.
I'll see you next week.
Okay, take care. Be safe. Jennifer Lawless, professor at American University, head of the Women in Politics Institute, Skyping in to give us the latest of D.C. politics. Of course, Rex Tillerson being out, the reaction to that, the special Pennsylvania congressional race today, implications there, and more. So just want to say thank you to Jennifer for Skyping in, as always. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with our third and final guest here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center, going national, Dr. Terrence Rohrig at the Naval War College, expert in the Korean Peninsula.